to buy local.
And just to add to that, the Gary oak in the Victoria area, which is protected, I understand.
Yeah.
If you're going to cut a Gary oak down, you got to get a permit, and it has to be reasonably, there has to be a reason behind it.
Thank you for environmental protection.
Yeah, native plant to the Pacific Northwest, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
The Gary oak. Yeah. Well, here we are. It's January, but there's still gardening issues out there, things that we have to worry about, things we want to be concerned about. I'm starting to get my propagation thing ready, my bench ready in the greenhouse. That's difficult because I got so much stuff in there. Finding a little square spot to plant some seeds, sow some seeds is a little bit challenging, but it's working, and I'm really, really enjoying it. The pest issues in the wintertime have not been large. And it's interesting how pests work, Ken. I got I forget the name of it, but I did get the name of it. It's like an onion bulbish thing, and it's got this feathery onion looking thing. I got it from Brian years ago, and it's easy to propagate. You can split them up and give them away. Well, I gave one to Donnie, and be darned if we were there for dinner on Saturday, last Saturday, I guess it was. And, hey, this thing had scale. So I ran home to see if mine had scale. It doesn't have scale. So it's interesting how those things work. I mean, this was a plant that I gave him in the fall that was a direct descendant or cutting or division off that plant that I have. And he has scale developed on his.
Does he have a lot? He must have a bunch of other plants.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
It's a soft scale, I assume, right? The indoor scale, yeah.
Anyway, that's the story on that. But I've been very clean in the greenhouse. But what really gets me as spring comes and I start growing soft annuals and things is the thrip. That's the tough one.
Yep.
And so I'm going to be looking into what kind of a biological control, introduce some other little buggies in there to handle the thrip. And
there are a couple new ones that are just recently become available. So as you explore that, you'll find hopefully those new ones available, and they're new species. I believe that they are a spider mite, a type of aggressive form of
mite that will go after thrip.
Yeah,
cool.
They're
It's a real study. It's a huge thing now in the industry, and they are now starting to look at home greenhouses and homes, actually houses, introducing some bugs into houses. I can imagine there's going to be a few people out there going, I don't want to introduce any bugs into my house. But hey, you already have bugs. You might as well have some other bugs to eat those bugs.
It's a little tricky for sure. And there's so many different species. It's just nature, right?
Yeah.
It's just nature. And if you have a bunch of plants, well, you're going to have a bunch of insects. That's the way it goes. Yeah. But those, most of them, you don't even see them, or you might see the occasional little fly flying through your house, and you go, "What's that?" And then you don't have to panic or anything. Just
embrace it.
It's a normal thing, and I get them all the time because I have hundreds of plants. So if I go along, if I find one, I just squish it, and I go like, "Oh, there's one." They're not usually fungus gnats, which is interesting, but they're generally a tiny, tiny little gnat. I'm not sure exactly what species they are, but I see them around from time to time. They don't really bother me.
What about the natural, the biological controlled insects that you introduce into your house? Are you going to see those?
Yeah, well, depending on what they are, right? If you have mealybug, then you need to get the cryptolaemus, which is a little beetle, and it's only it might be it's just like a 1/16 of an inch long, maybe a little longer than that, and that little beetle is quite a friendly looking little guy, but he's pretty aggressive, and that's all they eat is mealybugs, and their larvae are quite aggressive, and they are on some level, I'm sure, obviously related to ladybugs on some level, but just very tiny. And but I have done that in certain situations, released thousands of them into households. It's been pretty interesting. So the first thing that happens, and this is my experience, was that they fly, right? So when you release the little adults, is that they fly straight up into the tree. Like they just go right from they come in a little container and you open the lid and they just pour out like by the hundreds, and then they fly straight up. So if you put them right underneath, if you had, say, a Ficus benjamina, a weeping fig or something that was full of mealybug, which is what that particular one was, and they fly up into the tree and they just immediately start eating, right? And they just feast on those. But you do, within the next week, you start finding them along your windowsills, because they are attracted to light. Yeah. So they do migrate a little bit to the windowsills. So you just use your vacuum. You go along and vacuum off the windowsills. And
poor little guys. They've just done their job, and you're going to vacuum them up?
Well, remember that there's still lots on that tree, and they're laying eggs and all kinds of great things. So now, in those days, that's all we could get was the adults. But now you can actually buy the larvae. And so you get a whole container of like 1,000 of the larvae, and then you just sprinkle them throughout the tree.
We have to talk, because I really want to do this in the greenhouse this year, so we'll get that going.
You betcha.
We're going to have to take a short break here, but it's the first break of the morning. We invite your calls, because we love to hear from you, and I want to talk about the amaryllis sheet that I sent out last week, which is great, but there's one at least email that I wasn't able to get to, and I will talk about that. But we're going to come back with the Garden Show with your calls after this short break. So my plant of the week was camellia, and there's one that our good friend has kept over the winter. And what I'm going to do here is talk a little bit about the hardy one, okay? Because the hardy one is deemed hardy, but it's not going to be any. It's actually the hardy one will go minus 10 Fahrenheit or down to minus 23 Celsius. Okay, so it will take some blast. Minus 23 is pretty chilly.
Yeah.
And it all depends, as you said often. It's a matter of how long it stays cold.
Yeah.
But 23 is its maximum low that it'll take. Well, we can get colder than that in the Okanagan, and quite often do. So having one of those hardy camellias in the Okanagan is not really reliable. It might come through some years, of course, but not every year.
Last year and maybe this year.
Yeah. Down the coast, of course, you can grow. When I was down there last year, in the spring, we went down. And, back in the day, we weren't able to walk around and look at gardens. We came down to the coast to get plants. We went to the auction, went to the flower auction. We had a meeting or two. We'd had to do this, bang, bang, bang. And we didn't have time to wander down the streets and look at the gardens at the coast, which are very, very cool and very different than the Okanagan gardens. I'm not saying better. I'm just saying different. But, no, when you see those camellias in bloom, you just, you feel like you're...
Yeah, a lot of them bloom right through the winter, too, which is really cool. And that's one of the reasons they don't bloom here.
Yeah.
The timing is just not right.
Well, 2 years ago, when we had those real blasts, the November blast and that February blast, in the spring, or in the summer, actually, I went out to some folks' place, some friends of ours, actually, out in the Mission. And out in the backyard, they've got a rhododendron. It's just huge. It's huge, okay? And it is, the bloom buds were brown. There's no bloom on my rhododendron this year. How come? And the bloom buds were brown, crisp. Frozen, solid. The plant was okay, but the bloom buds were frozen. And this is what you were talking about, the magnolias, too. And if we get those real blasts, our magnolias some of them may not bloom.
Yeah, mine's Magnolia globosa, which is kind of a bit of an unusual one. Sure, I probably sold it to the people who owned our house prior. Because we used to get really unusual types. And that particular one is the buds are not really cold hardy. Like they only survive on the tree to about maybe minus 18 degrees Celsius. Anything colder than that, and they're toast. And that's why this spring, so the spring of 2025, we had full bloom for the first time since we moved in. And now it's been 20-some years, right? So That's pretty amazing that it's so mild that even the Magnolia globosa came to full bloom and fruition, which was lovely. And, we might see that again this year if the weather remains mild. But when it does go beyond, like, it's typical for us to go beyond minus 20 degrees Celsius, and that causes at least about 50% damage of the buds. And if it goes to minus 25, it's 100%. They just don't get any. So in the last 2 years prior, I might have had 4 to 5 blooms on the entire tree, and this is a pretty big tree. So, it was sad. Of course, we had minus 30 or minus 33 at our house, actually, 2 years in a row. So that's pretty cold.
But unlike my Magnolia grandiflora, you didn't lose half your tree.
No, and you lost the tree, but the buds come on the new growth on that one instead of on the old growth.
I still had bloom.
Yeah, you still had bloom.
That's right. But I tell you, lost half that tree. But it's as long as this winter stays mild like this, it's given 2 seasons to get caught up, and
it should be better.
Actually, have to do a bit of trimming because the lower branches are getting in the way. But and my laurel is coming back nicely as well. But boy, those were rough years. Look at tomorrow is the deadline, Ken. If you're going to get that poem in, you better do it tomorrow because January 25th is the deadline for the poem, for the poetry submission deadline at the Abkhazia Gardens. 1964 Fairfield Road in Victoria, and they are. If you want to submit that poem, you can. You want to go to conservancy.bc.ca/poetry. Conservancy.bc.ca/poetry, and you will be able to submit your poem. And then February 8th, the shortlist is announced. And then February 12th, coming up, poetry reading in the gardens, and the winner will be announced at that time. And I just want to mention, when we're speaking of Abkhazia Gardens, I'm going to be with Donna. We're going for a bit of an island hop, and we'll be in the gardens on Sunday, April 12th. We're going to be in Abkhazia Gardens Sunday, April 12th. So keep that in mind, folks. That's the plan. That could change, but that is the plan. Sunday, April 12th. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, that sounds like a great trip, and it's always nice to go to the island once in a while and enjoy the flora and the fauna.
Right,
and the people too. And
Comox Valley succulents.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I'm going to be enjoying is Comox Valley succulents. It's an amazing nursery. We're been there before. I bought few dollars worth of plants there. Bought my first pachypodium, first pachypodiums there. I bought the Pachypodium lameri and the Pachypodium gayi. Actually, I bought 4 of them, and I gave one to Dan Bruce. I gave one to Ken, and I gave one to Donnie, and I kept one, and I still have the one I kept. I'm not sure how's yours doing. Is it okay?
Gone.
Oh, it's gone. It's toasty. It's a toasty Pachypodium.
Yes.
Well, this is what happens. I got a beautiful Carnegie cactus given to me from a friend, and that's the Carnegie. That's the big cactus you see with the arms on it down in Arizona.
The saguaro.
Saguaro, yeah. It's a Carnegie, and anyway. It succumbed to death of who knows what. Dan Bruce has accused me of not watering enough of my succulents because I'm always worried about overwatering and rot, There's a fine line between that, especially in the wintertime. The wintertime is challenging sometimes with succulents and cacti because, you don't want to overwater them. Definitely want to keep the water
through
back
the
on
winter for sure.
But some of them, I found that beautiful little euphorbia that I can't think of the species, but it's that little funny-looking euphorbia. It's looking better and better and better all the time, and I'm up the water on it. And
just a little, yeah. It's a bit of a trick, I would say, getting some of these succulents through the winter. But once you're into the heat and you're into more normal cycle and bright light,
easy peasy.
It's much easier, and then you can afford to give them a little more water, but still always allowing them to dry out between waterings, and that seems to be the key. But they dry out much faster when the temperatures are warmer and it's sunnier. So then if your interval is, say, in the wintertime once a month, In the springtime, it might be maybe 1.5 times a month, and then once you get into summer, then it's twice or 3 times a month. And it all depends on the container size. Often the smaller the container, the more often you have to water.
Yes.
And so it's one of these things. But as we've often said, is when you water well. So what I do with mine is if I'm worried about overwatering them, but I feel like I look at the plant itself and I'm looking for shriveling or shrinking. So if I have a cactus and it's got like the ribs or fins on the sides, and as those get deeper and deeper, you know, the thing is shrinking, right? And so it's losing its internal storage. Then, you know, I want to give it a little bit, you know, or if it's a succulent and the leaves start going all crinkly and just, you can see they're just going soft and they're losing their moisture. Then what I do is, again, I've mentioned this before, is that I'll water a little bit down one side of the pot and a little bit down the other side of the pot, but I won't water like as if there were corners, but there is not corners. But I'm trying just to allow a little bit of moisture to access the root system to keep it humid, and to maybe if those roots are like cactus are, any succulents are really good at finding water and sucking it up. So even if it just touches 2 or 3 roots, they'll absorb that if they want it. And it'll maintain the moisture, humidity in that entire root zone. But what it really will do is just allow them a little bit of water uptake, and then the other parts of the roots remain dry
so it doesn't get soggy.
So it doesn't get soggy. It's not really enough, but it's maybe enough to get them through. I do actually the same with my geraniums as well, because the geraniums, I want to keep them sort of semi-dormant. So I've got pots full of geraniums sitting there, and I keep them like literally bone dry. But then about once a month I go out and I just put water down one side and down the other side. And sometimes I'll even do all 4 sides, but I just don't want to get it too wet, because I don't want them starting to grow like crazy right now. I just want them to stay dormant and just enough to stay alive. And interestingly enough, this goes on, I do that with my brugmansias as well. So the brugmansias, which are the angel's trumpets, mine are about 6 feet high, but they're in fairly big pots, like I would say they're 15-gallon pots. And what I would do with those is the same idea. They're completely leafless. And I want to keep them that way. I don't want them to start leafing out, because they'll just get full of bugs and everything. So I let them go about a week bone dry, and then I go in and I just add a little water to the surface. And I'll do that, say, once in the morning, wait a couple hours, once a couple hours later, add water, and then maybe about a couple hours later, add it again. But in small quantities, like a half a liter at a time. So I'm really only giving them like 1.5 liters of water in this quite a large pot. And it's just, again, enough to keep humidity in the root zone, because those plants, particularly angel's trumpets or brugmansias, they are sort of, you know, they're subtropical plant. They don't really like to be bone dry.
No.
You know, but so what I'm doing is I'm maintaining them so they're alive. That's all I want. I just want to keep them alive. Once I get into March, then I'll just start probably pouring the water to them, waking them up, and say, okay, guys, spring's around the corner, and I'm getting ready at that point in March. Probably around the beginning of May, I'm going to pop them right out of their pots, strip the soil off, repot them into new pots, and stand back. And
there you go.
It will do really well.
Go nuts.
Yeah.
Days right now are 2 minutes and 46 seconds longer than yesterday.
Oh,
and
just in one day.
In one day. We are now, let's see, 52 minutes, almost an hour longer than the winter solstice. So we're just almost an hour longer now than it was in the darkness of December.
Right. So this is counting actually sunrise to sunset.
Yeah, sunrise.
And that period of time right now is how long do you have that? Is it 9 hours or 9.5?
Yeah, I can't tell you right now. We're going to have to take this break, and I will talk about this after the break.
There you go.
My eyes aren't working as fast as my brain, or my brain's not working as fast as my eyes, something like that. We got Dan Bruce waiting for us online, and we're going to talk to him when we come back with The Garden Show after this short break. We're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. Look at the clear blue skies coming up here, and it's a little on the chilly side, but not terribly cold. It's not like that 50 below they're getting out back east. 50 below. I can't stand that. I think it's 45 below Celsius and
40.
Fahrenheit. Is it 40 below?
40 where it's equal, yeah.
40 was
so
equal?
minus 40 Celsius and minus 40 Fahrenheit are both the same.
Wow.
That's just where the two intersect.
They merge.
Yeah.
Well, let's merge with Dan Bruce here. How you doing, Dan?
Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning.
Things are things are fine here.
Oh, good, good.
I took a quick trip into Winfield yesterday, and which I've done hundreds of thousands of times.
Literally.
But it's going up the hill where the Cars Landing Road intersects with Okanagan Center Road. On the south side, there's a bush. It's been there for several years, obviously. But yesterday, I, like Moses, turned aside to see this wonder. I parked the car and I got out and walked across the road, and there it was. I noticed it particularly this year, back in the fall, because as you went past it, you saw this kind of red glow. Yeah, like the burning bush. It turns out that it's a sizable thing. It's probably about 6 feet high. And the red glow is caused by a multitude of very small little berries. Kind of a crimson red color. They've been hanging on there since, well, the late summer. Interestingly, the birds haven't touched it. I don't know what it is, but I have a chunk of it here now, and I'm looking at it. It's got to be, I think, a ribes or something very closely related, so like a red currant.
You almost have to wait for some foliage to get it.
Well, it's I'm 99% sure it is a currant of some sort, but which one exactly, I don't know. I've never seen it, never noticed it in previous years. It's just this time, and it may be because the fall and winter so far have been so mild.
So mild, yeah.
The fruit has hung on to it. They're not red, round and shiny like your average currant. They're more elongated, and they're not that shiny.
It's like a goji berry.
Something like that. Anyway, I will continue to work on this and see what becomes. They have little tiny seeds in them. But again, interestingly, the berries vary in size quite a bit. There's some little tiny ones that have nothing, and then there's some bigger ones. And I say bigger, I'm thinking maybe about the width of my thumbnail.
That's pretty good size.
But as I said, the birds haven't touched them.
Is there any thorns on that plant?
There are.
You'd think if it was a ribes that the birds would be diving in, but
well, exactly. So I haven't filled my mouth with them.
No. Yeah, you don't want to be the guinea pig.
We'll wait for identification
but Dan,
for that.
when I wouldn't mind seeing a sample of that when you get a chance.
I can.
Text us a picture.
I can do that. I can bring you a sample.
Oh, okay.
Lacking a cell phone, I have difficulty texting things.
Right. That Dan Bruce, the genius, has
He's
not got a cell phone. I think you're the last
one.
person on earth to not have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Have you ever met somebody who doesn't?
What everybody else did before these things were invented.
I have no idea because I lean on mine.
Yeah.
It's a great piece of equipment. You stretch your knowledge out way further than what it normally is, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, Dan, we got to run. It's that time of the year where we're talking to gardeners, and it's looking pretty good. I tell you. Were you listening last week when we were talking about the Kew Gardens and that they are doing a complete reno on the Kew Gardens? It's due to be reopening, and I'm talking about the conservatory, the Palm House.
Yes.
And that's going to be reopening in 2030. I think they said 2030. Which they're doing a massive renovation and trying to maintain some of these plants,
yes,
which are hundreds of years old, some of them, or over 100 years old. And some of them they can dig, some of them they can't. So they're propagating, and they've got one palm there that has that you have to have a male with to produce seed, and they don't have a male, so they've been searching the world for a male. Very interesting story. Anyway, and you've been there several times, I'm sure, to the Palm House.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I know some things about it. We will see you sometime early in the week.
Right on. Bring me a sample of that so-called possibly a ribes or something else, and we'll see if we can figure it out.
Okay,
buddy. Take care.
Right. Okay.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for calling.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And speaking of Britain and whatnot, I've been contacted by a travel agent to maybe put together another trip. Probably because I'm 76 this year, and next year I'll be 77.
That's what happens. Yeah.
Traveling around the world. Well, I mean, hey, as long as I'm healthy, I'm going to do it. And Donna and I are talking about a couple of different trips. One is the Scottish Gardens and Orkney itinerary. It's go to Edinburgh, then Edinburgh and the capital's Green Gems, various garden shops we're going to go to. Anyway, we're going to go to. I'd like to put these together. I love trips to Britain. I love them. I've been on a few of them. And I'll tell you, there's another one called the Slow Tour of the UK. And so it starts in London and it ends up in Edinburgh, very similar to the one I did in 2016. So that's something to keep your eyes and ears on, because I'm going to be talking about that, possibly. We're having a meeting with the folks and see if we can line something up. It'd be fun to do another trip to the gardens of Britain, which are world famous and exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, so as we go through this month, January again, Elaine Cameron was out in her garden quite a bit during the January of 1951. I was 1 year old, so I wasn't out in the garden, but she was certainly out there and did lots of work at this time of year. And they're talking about hauling manure around at that time of year. She did a lot of manure. And you know, she basically gardened organically as far as that part of it goes. But then she brings out the chloridane and the heptachlor and the dieldrin and all these different chemicals that she used to blast around the garden.
Yeah.
You know, which is it's just so it goes. It's so funny how it just back in the day it was just normal to do that, and now it seems so obscene actually to be using that stuff, and that's why we're talking about those beneficial insects for the greenhouse. You know, I've run out of malathion. That's it. We're done, and I won't ever have it again, of course, because it's off the market. And some of even the very mild things, the synthetic pyrethroids and pyrethrum and things like that, you can't use that in conjunction with beneficials.
No.
You just got it. You can't use any of that because you're going to kill your beneficials.
Yeah. And beneficials, we mean beneficial insects. So little guys that you purchase to release onto plants to help to control little, let's say, tougher insects that may be causing severe damage to your plants.
Yep.
A little bit of damage is fine. But severe damage, you have to decide if the plant's valuable enough. And if you do have something that's reasonably valuable, then you want to maybe help it out a little bit, give it a little boost.
Yeah. But my question always is, and we should maybe have, well, we've got an expert right here sitting in the studio, and that's Ken Salville. But on the other hand, too, I'd like to talk to, one of the people that you deal with supplier-wise, and that's and get a little bit more, as a guest, it would be kind of cool, because I'd really like to focus on that this year. In the greenhouse in particular, possibly even. Now, are these something you can release in your yard too? Does that make sense? Or they escape?
Oh, for sure. No, they do. There's different types of insects available, like these beneficials, and some of them fly, and some of them crawl, and some of them, they have different methods of getting around. So, like, I know the beneficial spider mites that eat other spider mites. They're relatively commonly released on cedar hedges and things. So people who get infestations, like, you can try spraying it, but a lot of the insects, the bad insects, have already developed immunity to a lot of the sprays that are used. So in other words, if you spray the tree to control the insect, the first time you use it, you probably get control. But the second time you use it, not so much. And the third time you use it, you're probably not getting any control at all. So they develop immunity really quickly. And so because of that, that's where when you do switch to something that's a biological control, so that means whether it's a bacteria or a nematode, which is a microscopic worm, or if you use actual insects as control, there's no insects that are immune to those guys because they're just lunch. And so when that happens, you're getting the best control. The only thing is that when you spray something, the next day you walk out and it's pretty much, you see a result or you don't. But with the beneficials, it's a period of weeks. It's nothing you see. It's something you develop a control, and you start to introduce it, and then you monitor it, and you watch it, and then you reintroduce it again, and you just stay on this program. And depending on the species, some species are actually hardy, meaning that they will develop a long-term life on, say, a cedar hedge or something, and then they'll just always be there. And they will potentially spread around and control other, say, mites or thrips, in the neighborhood. So they can be good. I think that some of that is regulated, like they don't just allow any... Like they don't allow you to be buying, say, beneficial insects from, say, India, unless they are a native species here. Even that, that's not common. But we have these producers right in Canada, so we don't have to worry too much.
We've got to take a short break here, Ken, but I'd like to continue that topic. There's a couple of questions I have that has always been on my mind about beneficial insects, and so we'll talk more about, but we do invite your calls. Give us a shout, 250-862-2525 in Kelowna area, 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling from anywhere else. And we will be back with The Garden Show after this short break. Okay, we're back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning, and hey, pretty soon we should be getting some seeds in, and we'll be talking about that as we go through spring. We'll talk about what's the timing, and the timing isn't going to be the same for everybody. The timing, depending on what you have as far as facilities go. I mean, if you got a full-fledged heated greenhouse like I do, the timing can be a certain thing, and then like I noticed the greenery put a post on Facebook. Tell was there with a bunch of tomato plants because they're growing them already. Of course, people think, the greenery and all the other nurseries are open up, and that's all they do is open up in the spring and bingo. No. They're working all winter getting ready for spring.
Yeah.
And
those tomato plants are not for you unless you have a greenhouse.
You got to have a greenhouse.
And it's got to be well heated.
Or a well lit facility in the house that's a grow light kind
like a
of
grow
thing.
room.
Really
in the old days,
room.
a grow light in a grow room usually meant you were growing marijuana.
Yeah, no.
And nowadays, it's more like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers. So yeah.
And of course, I like seeing the posts that Alan Reed posts. He's got his towers, his hydroponic towers going on.
Yeah,
and they got some great lettuce and all sorts of greens growing in these towers, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And of course, outside right now, every morning when I walk past my little garden area, they got about 110 garlic bulbs planted.
Wow.
I look for the little shoots, and they haven't shot yet. There's no shoot. Mind you, I was late getting them in.
Right.
Normally, you try and aim at that Thanksgiving weekend to get the garlic in. I was about 2-3 weeks later. So possibly that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. People have been calling in the Okanagan talking about how their garlic is up 4 or 5 inches. What do I do? It's going to get cold and whatnot. I don't think it's going to hurt it. I've
No,
never. It might
no,
burn
it's
the tops, but they'll just keep growing.
Oh,
when
yeah.
the weather comes.
Well, because when you do plant a garlic in the, say, like around Thanksgiving is when they're typically planted, so you would get those in the ground. They start to root right away, and they start to get the roots in, and they're just acting like a normal bulb would, and they will produce a shoot, and the shoot will come out of the top of the little bulblet, and it'll come up potentially up close to the surface of the soil, and sometimes they'll even just poke out just a little bit. And I've had that some years where I'll just see, if I look really carefully, they're hard to see, you just see this little tiny tip that's just at the soil surface. And I always think of that like, okay, here I am, I'm buried underground, I'm sticking my hand up, and I'm feeling what's that air temperature like up there? It feels a little cold. I think I'll keep going slow. But it's interesting. But I have had my garlic come up. I remember a couple of years they grew up about 2 or 3 inches tall, even in the fall, and they were fine. Sometimes they would freeze right off. Sometimes they would be protected by snow, and come right through. So they do have a certain resistance to cold. So.
Yeah. Ken, I just got a text from Barb, and she wants to know the name of the bean we keep talking about, the Barcelona bean. That's there is a proper name for it. I can't remember, but they were from Barcelona, so we call it a Barcelona bean. And Barb, if you're interested, I've got lots of seed of this Barcelona bean.
Yeah, I
that we
don't
talk
think
about.
that one is available locally.
No,
other than
it was one that Jack brought.
Yeah.
Jack brought home from a trip to Barcelona, and we've been growing it for 3 years now. And boy, oh boy, it's a winner. It really is. It's a climbing bean.
Seems to be resistant
prolific.
to the heat here.
Yeah, it's late to start, but once it gets going, it just never stops. It goes right through to freeze up. Very good. So Barb, that's it. You can contact me. It's called the Barcelona bean, as far as that's what I call it, and you can give me a shout. I'm still in the book. I have a landline, but also my website. You can get my phone number and that sort of thing. Anyway, I do want to just reach out to Nadine. Nadine, you asked for my amaryllis sheet among many that called me for my amaryllis sheet last week, and I got to everybody. And when I sent yours, it was Nadine J at iCloud, and unfortunately it gets bounced back. And Ken was saying it's because my PC doesn't, or the iCloud doesn't like my PC, or something going on there. So give me a call, Nadine. I'm going to give you my phone number here, and you call me, and we'll work out a way I can get that sheet to you. 250-878-6878. And if you didn't get the pen out fast enough and write it down, you can look up thegardenexpert.com, and that will be my phone numbers in there. Okay, so there you have it. I guess it's an iPhone. It's a Mac thing.
Yeah,
it's a Mac. They still keep fighting those Macs. Finally, they've got their charge cords coordinated. So
they are all more universal now. Yeah, it was a little wacky to have two different ones.
What about with the electric cars? So you own one, and are the receptacles all standardized now?
They are still a slight difference, but you just buy the adapter. So, like, say if you had a regular electric car, then it just generally will plug straight in. But if you have a Tesla or something like that, you need to have an adapter for that. So but I don't really know, because I don't really need them. I just plug straight into the outside wall outlet, and it's fine. The charge rate is slow when you do that, because you're just using like regular household power. But it's way better for your battery and your system. It's almost like a trickle charge.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so you just plug in every night when you get home. And I haven't seen any change in my electrical bills at all.
No,
none. And actually, I'm using less power since I got the car than I did prior to that. So you can figure that out. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking to Mary about hers. She has an electric car, full electric, and she says she just loves it, and it's she drives around town a lot with it, and that's fine for her. But she says she gets a little bit anxious when she's on the highway because of the charge stations aren't sometimes working, sometimes they're piled up with people. So they got to fix that infrastructure up and get that going to really make it.
But it's still not bad. Like some of these places are just sitting there empty and nobody goes to them. The new cars that are coming are all going to be over 800 kilometers per charge, and so that's like, now you can go from here to Vancouver and almost all the way back.
The technology.
So, but there's factors. When in the wintertime, when it's colder, they don't go as long. They don't last as long just because of the cold temperatures. But still, it's still relative. Like if I get 400K out of a full charge, which is ample for around the Okanagan, and it's great, yeah. And we were just chatting between the breaks, and I was saying how I just use that's my emergency backup for my house. So I can power my whole house on that huge battery for like a week without any problem. So in case of emergencies, it's really handy to have that on hand for sure. Yeah.
Jerry DeHaze has been working hard at various things. He's he's got strange movies playing at the Kelowna Jubilee Bowl in the city park in 1967. And there was one picture of our band, Strange Movies, playing at that. Maybe a couple of pictures. He's taken those pictures, and with AI, the band is fired up, playing "Summer in the City," to a huge crowd of hippies out there playing, in front of the Jubilee Bowl, and the band is fired right up. And it's pretty realistic. It's kind of neat to see bringing the old boys alive again. I'm going to take AI, and I'm going to make I better not say this too much because the recipients might be listening, but I'm going to have all my old relatives, like my great-great-great-grandfather, a picture of him, and I'm going to have them all lined up in chairs, and I'm going to be walking behind them, and I'm going to say, this is John Smith. He is the father of my great-grandmother.
Isn't that cool?
And he'll stand up and do this, hey,
give
hi,
the wave.
Say hi, how are you, kind of thing, and then sit back down. Then I come up, and this is my great grandmother, Jane Burnett, or Jane Smith, and just do that and make that whole thing cool as a Christmas gift to my relatives.
And you have to make up their voices too, so you could probably use like Morgan Freeman.
Oh yeah,
he's got the best voice out there. So put that on all of them. Just have them all the same.
Yeah, we can have them all the same. Anyway, lots of fun doing that. Yep. And we're going to now take our mid-show break. We do invite your calls. Join the fray here. We love talking to people in the winter about gardening. Any of your experiences, what you're doing, what you're planning on doing this year, and if you have any immediate problems with houseplants and that sort of thing, give us a shout. 250-862-2525 or 1-888 780-4273. You're out of town. Well, here we are back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. It's beautiful here, and I think it's beautiful everywhere in our listening neighborhood. Got a couple of emails just recently this morning from one from Lori, and she's sending us pictures of her acacia. And we talked about acacia. People talk about acacia here, and it's not really. It's pseudo-acacia we have here, which is the Robinia. But the actual acacia, now she's saying it's native to Australia, which is fascinating. I thought it was native to Africa, but maybe it's native to Australia. Anyway, she sent pictures of this, and the flowers are featured on the Australian coat of arms. Well, thanks so much, Lori, for that. We always appreciate hearing from you folks. And beautiful blooms. It's almost the blooms almost looks like a Colereteria in a way. But anyway, I'm going to have a look at that. And another email we got from Tracy, which is very nice, showing some winter color in, Dan Bruce was talking about winter color on his, and she sent some beautiful pictures of winter color, Perotia, Persica. Vanessa is the variety. And then the hamamelis, of course, very, very cool at this time of year. The hamamelis malls. Witch hazel, yeah. Chinese witch hazel.
Is it starting to bloom?
Yep.
And that's in down coastal area?
Victoria, yeah.
Nice.
So it's very cool. Thank you so much for that. We always appreciate those emails and, having those emails come in. Enables us to answer your questions a little bit better. We're seeing pictures and stuff. We've often said, well, send us a picture and we can see what's going on. So we're going to go to the phone lines, and we've got Yvonne from Kelowna phoning. Good morning, Yvonne.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
All is well on this beautiful day.
It is gorgeous.
Yep. Got to look at all those miracles out there. Yeah. Hey, I've got a question. You might have answered this, but I just got on this morning, just now. I'm looking to start some indoor lighting for starting my plants this year. I've never had to do that yet, but they've just been growing so spindly just against a window. So I'm thinking now might be the time to invest in some lighting. And so don't know where to start, don't know what to get. Any ideas?
Yeah, well, there's a myriad of different types available. I would say that there are some very low-end cost LED lights, which when I say low-end, I just mean probably less than $100.
Okay.
And some of these are available either online or at your local stores. There's several stores in every community that sell all kinds of. They used to be hydroponic supplies, or they would call themselves Nature's something or other. I can't remember the names, but they sell all kinds of grow light materials. So in the more professional end, they are generally they're better quality, and they produce a very high quality light as well, so they can last for years and years. I don't have a specific brand name for you, but I would just say shop where you're going to get the best value that way. And when you're buying stuff online, you just never know what you're going to get, and it's kind of a bit of a mystery. You definitely get it cheaper. You're missing out on the shop local thing. For a few bucks, but I would say that in the Kelowna area, there's I know a couple shops down in the Kirshner Road area, which is not too far from the Rona dealer there, and there's a couple down in that neighborhood, and there's sort of like little industrial shops down in there, and they can steer you right, and they can give you all kinds of ideas. So what I have is I have a little. I have a bunch of different grow lights, but I have one that's like a square shape, and it's approximately like 16 inches long by about 12 inches wide.
Okay.
And it's a broad spectrum light, and it's fairly light. It has some fans in it, so it cools itself, but it's all LED. And that thing is really nice, and they come with all the hangers and everything with them. And
great.
So you hang them. I keep mine about 3 feet above my tabletop. So then I have like a table, like a kitchen table sort of size. And I just keep it about 3, maybe 3.5 feet above the table. And then I can put all my plants on that to get them started. And if you want to get seedlings started, then you just add the next degree, which is just some heating pads, which are inexpensive. They're available everywhere. And they're for germinating seeds or propagating plants. And you just set those on the table surface, and they only get to about maybe 80 degrees Fahrenheit sort of temperature. And so you can set them right on the table and plug them in. And they just stay nice and toasty, and then you can place your cutting and seedling trays right onto those, and that gets you real quick germination.
Okay, great. So the places on Kirshner Road, are they actual hydroponic places, or?
Yeah, but I don't think they might say they would have a name. I just can't remember the name.
Can't remember the name. Okay.
Garden Center or something like that.
They would say
now.
gardens, gardening or nature's gardening or something.
Okay.
And then underneath it would
and
say hydroponic supplies, that sort of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. That's fantastic. No, I'd rather get local for sure.
Yeah, and they're not crazy expensive, but you can get a really good one that'll last you for years and years. And
No, exactly. That's
really good
the way to go anyways. Okay, perfect.
Thank you,
thank you, guys. Yeah, have a wonderful day.
And you as well.
Thanks.
Take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Just got a text wanting to talk a future show, perhaps, because I'd like to get our ducks in a row on it. Do a show on garden tools and how to sharpen them, how to maintain them, how to keep the handles from slivers, and just what to do. We kind of talk about it in the fall because that's really what a person wants to make sure that they get that organized
when they're putting away the
when
tools,
putting things away and not leaving your tools. Bad thing to leave tools out into the snow, that's for sure. But so we'll do that. We'll do that for you, and we appreciate you reaching out for us. How to sharpen, how to clean them, keep them in best condition, and rust, pruners, and the good, better, and best. You can these pruners that we carry are Felcos. I've had this pair of Felcos since 1972.
Yeah.
The same pair of Felcos since 1972. And they haven't changed their design hardly at all. They've added a few things, like they've got some left-handed Felcos, and they've got a few other things, sort of ergonomic handles and things like that.
For different size hands.
The basic popular, the one that says popular and the one that says Felco 2, those have been the same since day one. And they're made in Switzerland, and they are... I've changed the blade several times. I've changed the blade over the years because it's not because I wear it out. I break it because I use these. I use these for a screwdriver, and I use them for
hammer,
for a hammer,
prying,
and for pliers.
I find staple removing, out of cardboard boxes and all kinds of things.
Even when I'm working
nail pulling,
I'm working away in my workshop. I'm building. I got to show it to you too. We got to remind. I'm building a hoist for one of my heavier pieces of equipment in my workshop, and I'm building it out of a windshield wiper motor, which is pretty cool. You'll love it when you see it. But, I'm in the workshop and I'm doing the thing and I have to pick at something. What do? I don't go for my picks or my screwdrivers. I bring my Felcos out and I'm in my workshop using my Felcos as a hammer.
Oh, yeah. And as a reaching tool, I use it I still would use it daily. So, like, if you ever had something like maybe a rag or something, say, that's soaked with turpentine and you already cleaned your hands, so you don't have, your hands are nice and clean, use your Felco to pick up the rag and move it. And so, or any other gross thing that you might find on a rag. I don't touch it with my hands.
Case in point, I heat something up, a small piece of metal, and I'm welding or doing something, and I have to pick it up. Do I go reach for my pliers? No, I reach for my Felcos. Pick it up with the Felcos because it's right there on my hand.
Yeah, always on the hip.
It's always on the hip.
I know my one of my sons was over for a visit here last week, and he was quite floored that I didn't have my Felcos on. Because I've never taken them off since I was a kid, So now I'm semi-retired now-ish, other than doing, consulting and teaching and speaking. But I just don't have them on all day, every day in the middle of winter. But what's a real problem for me is when I go to do something and I don't have them on.
I bet you reach.
I reach for them and I go like, what am I doing?
I'm slapping back on, Ken.
Put them on. Yeah. Well, I would say end of January, back on for another year.
The only time there was a problem was when I was taking my mother and a group from Cottonwoods of the patients there. I was taking them to the casino, and I had a whole group. I had about 5 or 6 gals and guys in wheelchairs, and we're getting them into the casino.
Yep.
And I had my
pruners on.
You can't come in here with those.
Yeah.
They think, what am I going to do? Snip wires or what am I going to do? I don't know. Cheat?
Yeah. And they won't let you in the hockey game either with them.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. If they see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only, after going to like seasons, having season tickets with the Kelowna Rockets since 2003, all the way to 2019, and all that time, I always had my pruners on every single game, and only 2 times they saw them and they said, "Oh, you're going to have to pick these up on your way out." So they would take them and keep them in their office at the door, and then on my way out, I'd swing in.
That's what happened.
And they would say, "Oh, I was listening to you on the garden show this week."
Yeah, there you go. I haven't tried getting on an airplane with them, but we won't.
I don't
try that.
Think that
we're
going to
take a break here, folks, and do invite your calls 250-862-2525 1-888-780-4273 if you're calling from anywhere other than the Kelowna area. And we'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Okay, if you haven't got rid of your Christmas tree, I'm talking about the cut Christmas trees that you put up at Christmas. If you haven't got rid of the Christmas tree disposal in the Kelowna area and other areas like Penticton and Victoria, they're going to have their own drop-off points, I'm sure. But for the Kelowna area, it's there's several places in Kelowna. The Ben Lee Park. This is up to December 26th. Yeah, it stops. It stops on January. No. Maybe I'm out to lunch here because it may not even be there anymore. I thought it was the end of January when it stopped receiving them, but it looks like not. So anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something that's real. The garden tour coming up in June is happening, and that's real.
Yeah,
that's going to happen.
Absolutely. That's good.
And also, it's a CD Sunday. That's very important because it's coming up fairly quickly. March 8th, 2026 in Kelowna, March 8th. And we did have documentation, I believe, somewhere of the CD Saturday or CD Sunday in Victoria.
Yep.
Maybe somebody can call in and mention that.
Too. There's one coming up.
Yep.
I have to get that date figured out really quick. I'm doing a series of talks with the Summerland Research Station coming up. I think it's right on that same weekend of CD Sunday, so it's on the Saturday in Summerland. And then lots of talking this year, and so I still have some available dates if people belong to garden clubs and they want to put together a nice talk on gardening of whatever your topic is. I have literally hundreds of topics that I speak on, so I'm available. If somebody wants to reach out, you can just send me an email through ken@growercoach.com. You can go to the website if you like. That's usually info@growercoach, but it's all at Grower Coach, and you're welcome to send me emails, requests. I can send you quotes on the costs, expenses, and depending where you're located and whatnot. Generally, I try to keep semi-local within the valley here is where I try to stay. But that being said, hey, depending on the cost, it can be a little more money, say, to go to Kamloops area or to the Lower Mainland would be more of an expense for sure. But anyway, I'm out there. This is the time of year to get me booked in if you want me to speak at your event.
You can come by my house and speak too if you like.
Yeah, there you go.
Come by. We'll do one from the greenhouse. Look at so I had something I was going to say. Now I've completely forgotten about. Oh, I know what it was. Donna's tip, her domestic tip, her homemaker's tip of the week.
There you go.
She's not going to have one every week, but this week she called me up. She said, Don, I got one. It's about a weekly homemaker's tip. This week's tip is when you wash your towels, add about half a cup of vinegar to the rinse water. It freshens the towels, makes them fluffier, and keeps them soft.
Oh.
If you want some soft towels, Ken, put a little vinegar in the rinse water.
Yeah. That acidifies that alkaline water.
Yeah, that's probably what it does.
Softens it.
Softens the water.
Nice soft water.
There you go.
Beautiful.
And it makes things fluffy.
See, in coastal regions, their water's already probably
it's very
acid. Yeah.
I noticed that, Ken, when we lived when our band moved down to Vancouver to make it big, quote, of course.
Yep.
we go down there. We rented a house on Southeast Marine Drive, 483 Southeast Marine Drive. House is still there.
Yep. And
rented a 5-bedroom home, and we rented it for $210 a month. And 3 bathrooms, 5 bedrooms, and $210 a month. That was pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Archie's not going to have that same value.
Same experience when he goes down there. Yeah.
I'm sure. But anyway, I noticed as soon as I started taking baths and showers there, the soap and everything was just so much soapier and so smoother.
Much longer,
and it lasted so much longer than it does in the Okanagan. The Okanagan is
hard water.
Hard water, and that's
that's why you have water softeners, and that's where in the plant industry we're always talking about water, water treatment, because especially for us here in the Okanagan, especially if you're on a well, you pretty much have to have your water treated, or you should, just so that you can get a nice soft water. Soft water just means, like you say, softer clothes, softer laundry. Soap goes farther. Soap actually works. It's a lot of things that are different. But with plants, the plants love the soft water. They just don't like the sodium that might be in it. So if you're a brand new water softening unit will be pretty good. You won't have any problems, and feed that to your plants, your water. It's fine. You might occasionally get a little shot of salt that gets into your water, but not much. Salt is very, very toxic, like sodium. Sodium chloride, very toxic to plants. But if you have an older machine, the older machines, the valves tend to leak in them a little bit, and they tend to leak a little bit of that salt solution into your water supply. And I'm holding my hand up because that's me. So just my regular water supply is about 400 to 500 parts per million of sodium. And so all I need is 50 parts per million of sodium to cause damage to plants. And so, in other words, all my water I feed my plants has to be filtered through the reverse osmosis system, which I happen to have, which is under the sink, and I've got a 50-gallon per day unit, and that's ample for all my plants and for our consumption as well. Not that sodium's really bad for you, but it's good to not go too crazy on it, if you're getting it from other sources.
Seedy Saturday in Victoria is February 14th. So it's really coming up. Yeah. Seedy Saturday in Victoria.
It's on
we can
Valentine's
maybe you get the detail on that and where it is and everything, but so that you got to keep that in mind. Lots of fun, those seedy Saturdays and Sundays. Getting seeds and things that that you normally wouldn't get. Sometimes they're different than what you'd see on the shelf, and it's just fun to talk and chat with friends in the gardens and people that have the like interests. And you get to go and listen to Ken Salvale in Kelowna talk.
I will be there
at the Seedy
I'll be
Sunday.
there, answering questions and whatnot. So it'll be a very nice opportunity to speak with the public again, as I often do. The other thing is remember that if you're wondering if your community has a Seedy Sunday or Seedy Saturday, you can just go to seeds.ca. That's the Seeds of Diversity, which is, I believe it's a Canadian site. And so you can go there and it lists all of the Seedy Saturdays and Sundays in Canada, and you can check that out. And then, if you don't have one in your community, you might want to get one going because it's a really great event and gets all the gardeners out.
So, are the master gardeners associated with most of them, or all of them?
Well, that's a very good question. I know they are here
in Kelowna,
at least, and maybe in the valley here. So it's just usually the master gardeners would go out to answer questions again and to speak with the public and to make themselves available and noticed as well, because they do offer their Master Gardeners program where you can sign up and become a Master Gardener. So I'm sure there's a little bit of recruitment in there as well, which is always nice to get the get the numbers up in the classes. I've often been known to teach those classes for the Master Gardeners, and you have too in the past, and it's really great. I think it's a really fun environment. I mean, people just love the plants, and they just want to learn more so they can just become a little bit better at managing those plants and taking care of them.
Ken, we received an amaryllis this before Christmas. Don Stoltz actually got us this amaryllis bulb, nice big fatty. And I have never had an amaryllis. Well, I have. They just blow your mind when you see them when they do what they do. And I was very impressed down in Australia when we were there, seeing the amaryllis in mass blooming in the gardens. But now we're talking hippestrums, really. The amaryllis is a separate thing, but they're related, and the common name that we see with these big, large, horn-shaped flowers we call them amaryllis, and that's fine. This one is called red line. It's a common red one, but huge. I don't know. Did you see a picture of it? I posted one on Facebook.
I did see that. Yeah,
it's just nuts this year. Not only does it have two stems.
Was this a new one, or was it a
brand new bulb I got this fall?
So it's new. Yeah.
So big, huge.
The bigger the bulb you get, generally, the better the performance.
2 stems with 4 blooms each. It's got a 3rd stem coming.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 12 blossoms on one bulb. I guess it's not a record because I've heard of more.
Yeah,
Heard
I had
16,
one with four stems.
Yeah,
I think it was last year. Yeah,
Well, that's
it was
16
great.
blooms.
But that's huge bulbs. So that's one thing. If you're buying, amaryllis, you may see them at different prices, and you see they're graded by the size of the bulb when it comes to hippeastrums. And so you'll see these. Some of them are just enormous, and you can get really good deals on those sometimes, where the the bulb is just massive, and yet the price is not too crazy.
Right.
And so if you do see that, that's really what you look for, is the size of the bulbs. That indicates sort of the number of blooms you're going to get, number of stems.
Kind of goes with all bulbs, isn't it? The bigger the bulb, the more
better it is,
value you're going to get.
The double white one, I had two of the double white ones, and the bulbs were huge when we got them, and we got them really, I thought, a really good price. But anyway, we plotted those up, and oh my God, so decadent, unbelievable. I actually did a video on it. I just went back in the day, in the COVID days, and I actually had COVID when they were in full bloom, so I had to do a video on them, and it was pretty amazing. I wasn't feeling good, but I'll tell you, those blooms, they really brighten up your day. A fully double white flower that's the size of 8-inch diameter, just spectacular.
We should talk when we come back after the break. We'll talk about the waxed ones.
Yeah,
with that wax thing.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of those.
We are. And so I did a little research on them. We'll talk about that when we come back, because people are asking about that. And I still think it's kind of a dumb thing to do, but that's okay. It's controversial.
For the stores that stock them, it's kind of good because it holds the moisture in them and extends their life, and so they can have them on the shelf much longer. And then when you get them home, they still do their thing, but you got to know what to do with them afterwards.
They're meant really as a one-shot deal. And that's cruelty to amaryllis or hippeastrum bulbs.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We're going to take a short break. Do you know, Kent, this is a little bit of trivia.
Yep.
Do you know something I spent almost an entire day doing in a year, like a whole day out of that year, brushing my teeth.
You spend the whole day brushing your teeth?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, because I do, 4 minutes a day, like two.
Oh, I get it. So the
2 minutes
accumulation
in the morning,
of that
2 minutes in the evening.
Yeah.
4 minutes a day.
Times the number of days.
24 hours. Times 300. It's 24 hours I actually spend brushing my teeth.
Huh.
I couldn't believe it when I figured that one out. Does it matter? Probably not. But hey, it's fun to think about these things. Yeah. We're going to take a short break here at the bottom of the hour, and we'll be back with more of The Garden Show. Well, in 2016, we took a trip to England and to Britain, and did the London. We went to Savile Gardens, and we went to various other gardens there, and Kew Gardens, this one. And then we took the train up to Scotland, and we did a wonderful time at Scotland, where we went to St. Andrews Golf Club golf course and checked that out. And they also have St. Andrews. They have a botanic garden there as well. And we also went to the Edinburgh Botanic Gardens, and it's one of the Royal Horticultural Society's gardens there, and wonderful trip. There's a chance we're going to do that similar thing again in 2027, which is next year. After this is the 26th and the 27th, we might do that again. So I'll be talking about that. We're going to have a meeting with them, and. Getting up in years now, so maybe that might be our last European trip. We did a river cruise. We called it the Tulip River Cruise in Holland and Belgium, and that was a lot of fun. In fact, matter of fact, we look back on any of these trips that we've taken, and Don and I look back most fondly on that river cruise. A lot of you only got about 150 people on the boat. Like it's not like a cruise on the high seas. It's a river cruise, and it's a smaller boat. The food is incredible. You do most of your river cruising at night, so you end up docked at a city, which you go out and tour and do your thing in this various cities. It was one of our favorite trips, and lots of botanic stuff going on. Not as much as the other trips, but lots of botanical stuff going on. But of course, then you end up at Kirchenhof Gardens, which is incredible. Bulbs. I mean, mass plantings of bulbs, and they just keep bringing them, and they keep bringing them on. Like, the bulb season's like this. Well, they've got a greenhouse or someplace where they're bringing on more bulbs. So when these start to fade, they all get dug out, plant some more. So it's just incredible.
Always blooming.
It's incredible what they do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We've got Brenda joining us. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, fellas. Thank you for enlightening our Saturday mornings. I have an aloe plant that I've been given many years ago. It is now about 2 feet tall in about a 24-inch pot. But I've now got probably about 10 little plants appearing in this pot. Does that, and this plant, it's leaning over for some reason. I guess maybe it I don't know why.
Well, they get top heavy.
Yeah, and that too. Does that mean that it's ending its time? That's why it's sending up all these little plantlets?
No, it just wants to procreate, and that's what it's doing. Not in that sense. It's just division kind of thing. These little guys you can dig out and put them into pots and give them away to friends and whatever.
Yes, I will be trying to repurpose them to somebody.
But also,
I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with all of these little guys? So what would happen if I just let them grow in this pot? They would just overtake the pot in that plant.
Yeah, they would just keep growing, and depending on how much room they have and what you're feeding them with and whatnot, they just keep growing. The top, I find that this is an aloe vera, right? There's lots of aloes out there. I've got about 10 different aloes, but the aloe vera is quite succulent, quite heavy, and I find that the root system sometimes isn't strong enough to hold the thing up. So a bit of staking, sometimes a little staking will help keep that in order. However, you might want to take a couple of those little babies and put them in a pot and grow them. And then as the big guy gets so big you can't manage it, and so put the green bin lid open and plunk it in there, and you've got that young guy coming back for you. So they're easy to grow. They love their light. They like sunshine. They like and they are succulent, so you don't want to overwater them. Let them get on the dry side between waters. And great plant. And of course, the medicinal side of the aloe vera is very, very good. Really good for burns. Really good for even for cuts and things like that. Yeah, it's a medicinal plant.
And now that there's no point in trying to prune it back or anything like that, is there?
The big guy, you can't really. They're not a prunable thing. Really.
That's right. Yeah.
And the little guys, like mine, did the exact same thing. I had it in a pot, and one thing was, as long as I kept it a single plant, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was so spectacular as one big giant plant. It's just great. Yeah. And then it started to produce all these little babies at the bottom. So I thought, well, I don't really want those little babies down there because I like the big plant and I don't want it to compete. So I went in and I cut as deep as I could go. I cut out all the little babies. So I had about, I don't know, maybe 15 or something. So I took them all out, got rid of them, potted them up, whatever. And then I let it grow again. And, it took about 6 months. And in 6 months, then I had about 100 little babies that shot up from everywhere that I cut them off. They multiplied. So then I had all these ones, and I thought, oh my God, now. So I was going to cut them all out. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to let it do what it's doing. And eventually that top plant did get so top heavy, it was just flopping. So I gave in to the little guys, and I cut the big one out. And then all the little guys filled the pot, and it just formed this big ball of little guys, which were not as nice as the one big guy. That
the
was
one solitary
cool
one. Yeah. Well, that was I was thinking too. Do I just ditch this big one, because some of the branches on the aloe are getting quite ugly looking, actually, because it's been leaning over, and I've been trying to prop it up and stake it and all the other things, trying to save it. And I'm just wondering if that was my question. I was wondering if it was the end of its time, and that's why it was sprouting all these little guys.
Well,
Yeah.
One thing I was going to do, but I never did do, is once I got that big thing cut out, it lived.
Yeah.
I just stood it in the corner on the floor, like with no roots or anything, and it lived for about 6 months, just standing there.
Wow.
Didn't change much. You know, it was like, I don't really need water or anything. So then I thought, oh, okay, well, this is cool. So that big one, I almost thought, well, maybe that's like a cutting. What if I went around the bottom and removed a bunch of these huge leaves, and then I took some of those big leaves and put them in the freezer, so I had some aloe available, you know, in case I needed, because the big leaves are so much better for like the burns and stuff. But then I would try to expose about maybe 4 inches of the stem, you know, by removing the bottom leaves, and so keeping the upright ones that are not as floppy. And then just taking that and literally stuffing it into a pot that had a little bit of half potting soil on the bottom, and then gravel on the top part, like a fine crusher chip, you know, rock. And then what that would do is just create this more stable environment, and in a clay pot, a big clay pot, so the whole thing wouldn't tip, and then maybe give it a little bit of staking for a while and keep it dry. And I would not be surprised if that thing just rooted in and went about its way, and I've bypassed all those little suckers that have now filled the other pot.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I'm thinking. That's my theory.
Okay.
The reason I didn't go through with it, because the thing's sitting there on the ground for so many months, I was just like, I can't believe this thing's still going.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay, I might be adventurous and try that.
You betcha.
Anyhow.
Let us know how you make out, Brenda.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, guys. And I really do enjoy my Saturday mornings with you, by the way. So thank you for being here.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, then. Bye-bye.
Peter, phoning from Lakeview Heights.
Yes, sir. I had Ken was out about a year ago, and I had him for a couple hours here and gave me some great advice. One thing I did last year as well, I'd like to do it again this year, is to fertilize the lawns. Now, I've picked up some 3006, I think it is. And am I a good time to put it down now, or should I just wait a bit?
Yeah, I think I'd be waiting a little bit, even though a lot of these fertilizers, they won't really start releasing until it warms up. So, you know, I would just say, just to save and get, you know, put your power of application to get the most out of those nutrients, is put that on probably around the very end of March. Now, the one thing on that is that if you can maybe find out a little bit more information from the company, whether that sounds like a slower release product, just because it's probably urea. Do you remember if it said urea?
I've got them. I don't have them right in front of me. I can't. I'm not sure.
So if you read it and it says urea, then you're going to find that's going to last a long time. And so that means that when you put it on, you won't usually get a real fast green up, but it'll just very gradually go green as you head into like May, and then it'll last through May into June, and then you could reapply it at that time. If you get one of the early start ones, they're fast releasing, and they're more like, they would have more numbers in that sequence. So it'd be more like one that we actually use from a professional standpoint is 18-18-18. And that's sort of, so 3 numbers the same. Apply that on early in the season. That's specifically an early application thing. But it only lasts for about 1 month. So if you put it on at the end of March or early April, it'll last for the month of April. And then once you're into May, you can go ahead and apply something like this 3008 or 3006.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. But so end of March, and that typically will last for a couple, 3 months, I suppose.
It should, yeah. Just again, read the chemical composition of the nitrogen. What type of nitrogen? If it says sulfur-coated urea, that's a common one, and that is something that will last.
Okay. And I know, Don, you like a good grandpa joke.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a well-dressed man on a unicycle and a poorly dressed man on a bicycle?
Don't know.
I don't know that one.
A tire.
A tire. Okay, I heard a story the other day about this young fella asking his grandma to make a sound like a frog, and she said, "Why would you want me to do that?" And he says, "Well, Mom and Dad said when Grandma croaks, you get to go to Disneyland."
Oh my gosh. Anyway, thanks, gents. I always enjoy listening to your show every Saturday morning.
Thanks,
Awesome.
buddy. Appreciate the comment.
Care.
Okay,
Thanks
take
for
care.
calling,
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, Ken and I were just talking about how well the Kelowna Rockets are doing this year, and which is lots of fun. And Memorial Cup is going to be here this year, which is exciting as well. We haven't talked about the Canucks lately.
Oh, they're doing great. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is lose. So they can get first-round draft picks. Yeah. You know, so yeah.
It's incredible how that hockey system works. But I've actually got into it now. I'm actually watching the players' individual plays and stuff like that. Before it was just it was I wasn't into it. But now you kind of get addicted to watching the moves and the plays and the personalities and all that stuff. It's kind of fun.
They played a perfect game, I thought, last night. They just really kicked butt all the way till the end and then just didn't quite finish it off. So that's just about perfect. So everybody had an exciting it was a very exciting game. It was really fun to watch, especially when they pulled the goalie for like the last 4 minutes of the game and came right back and scored and almost went into overtime. And what was interesting was that the other team was rushing at full blast on a net with no goalie in it. Like 4 or 5 times they got breakaways, and the Canucks stopped them from scoring. It was pretty exciting.
All playing goalie.
It was great. Pretty
So let's
exciting.
just talk before we finish the show today. Let's talk a little bit about those waxed amaryllis or hippeastrums. They are meant for a single shot deal. Like in other words, they bloom and they do no roots, nothing. But I don't know about you, Ken, but I just feel it's just cruelty to plant life to do something like that. It's like,
just because they will do that and still perform doesn't mean you have to do
it's
that.
like that custom back in I think it was in Japan years ago where they would make small shoes on these ladies so their feet wouldn't grow. I mean, it's the same thing with a plant.
Maybe not quite. But
Not quite, but I tell you. Look, we've got Wendy joining us. Wendy, how are you today? Good.
I'm just great. Nice to see the sun back.
Oh, yes, it is.
it's
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, I'm calling a little early for this, but I finally figured out what was eating my elm tree that I'd phoned in before.
Oh.
It's a woolly elm aphid.
Oh.
And so it grows in the crevices, overwinters in the crevices of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes out in springtime, it's just a big white woolly thing all up and down the branches.
Oh, yeah.
And
The dormant oil should handle that.
okay.
How big a tree is it?
It's about I don't know, 6-7 feet.
Oh, it's a small tree.
Oh, yeah.
It's a small tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then
Should be
get some
manageable.
dormant oil and spray it. Maybe not quite yet. Maybe early to mid-March. You might want to.
Where are you located again?
I'm in West Bank.
In West Bank, yeah. So, early mid-March would be probably good. You want the daytime temperatures about almost hitting, if you can, 10 degrees Celsius. So you need a pretty nice warm day if you want to apply it yourself. I'm not sure you'd be able to get a spray company to do that, but it's always worth a try, I guess.
Yeah, no, I should be able to reach it. Yeah, sort of thing. Okay, I will try that because it really, devastates the tree. It's done it the last couple of years, and it just, there's no leaves left on it either.
And remember to do a follow-up as well. If you do manage to get a spray off, say, on the 20th of March or something, and then, you get into the beginning of April, do it again. Do a follow-up spray. Make sure that any ones that you got rid of on the first batch, maybe you got the second batch, or maybe there's eggs that are hatching later that are going to come out. You never know.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
That's one. The only elm tree that I have is that little dwarf elm that I have in our COVID garden, our little rockery.
That's a really cool
It's a
one.
beautiful plant. Got those from Helen, as well as my very dwarf ginkgo, a very dwarf spreading ginkgo. A couple of, you have your favorite plants in the yard. And what we're going to be doing with this rockery this year is completely renovating it. Because it's got some things in there, some plants, and they're actually little sedums and things that are just prolific. They just want to be the only guy in town, kind of thing. So we're going to remove that kind of stuff, and I'm going to take the stuff that I really want to keep, and I'm going to put them in containers, and I'm going to keep them aside, and I'm just going to keep working those weeds and cleaning up and really trying to get it so that they are under control on that garden. The only thing that'll stay in there is the boxwood and the elm, and maybe I've got a little evergreen in there too. Leave those in while I'm working on it. Take all my tufa rock out of there, and I'm going to make. And I got a bunch of really nice rock from my daughter's garden. When she used to go camping, and out in the bush and she'd bring home rock, and there was just piles of it in her yard. So I took that before we sold the house. I brought them to my place, and I'm going to make a dry riverbed in that thing. So a lot of it's taken up with this dry riverbed, and I'm only going to have things that grow very small in that garden. And we've had a couple of young hostas and that in there, small hostas,
the little miniature
tiny
ones, yeah.
But it was just too hot in there for them, so we're going to move those to another spot in the garden. So that's the project for this year. And I also have a curb that's kind of disintegrating, a concrete curb. I'm going to be ripping that out and doing that. I've got some elm trees, elm hedge on the one side of the property that I want to remove. I'm going to put up a cedar fence like I did in the back. So on the cedar fence, I can display more plants in the summer. Make some shelves, because the cedar hedge. It's interesting how over the years people do this. I had a cedar hedge, and my neighbor planted a cedar hedge on their side. So we got two cedar hedges adjacent to each other, back to back. It just doesn't make any sense. So those cedar hedges are coming out of there. We're going to put that fence in. So these are projects we've got planned. We also have our little trip planned for this spring in April. We're going to go, and as I said, we will be in the Abkhazi Gardens. We're going to be there on the April 12th. So it's a Sunday, April 12th. We're going to be at Abkhazi Gardens and having a look there, because we really have been interested in that. It's a great thing. Ken and I promote those gardens over the past couple of years that we've been broadcasting into Victoria, and I'm anxious to see them. Yeah, anxious to see them.
Going to be great. It's going to be fun.
And keep in mind, folks, that in next year we're thinking of a trip to the old country. There's lots of old countries. Britain, the UK. And I've got the itinerary here, so I'm going to talk about that next week a little bit, just chat that up a little bit, because it's a whole different gardening world over there. As a matter of fact, especially in Holland and Europe, Brian Minter talks about how when he goes over there, he just blows his mind. He did a talk actually in Seattle about his trip to Europe, and how especially in the industry part of things, how everything is becoming robotic and automated, and he says just incredible what they do over there. So, and whatever happens there comes over here eventually, and so it's always fun to take a trip to the old country and see what they're doing over there. Amazing. Ken and I, again, will be here again next week. We're looking forward to spring. The days are getting longer, and next week they'll be a little bit longer. And before you know it, we'll be into the spring rush. And well, it's not the same rush that we used to have, is it, Ken?
Not quite.
It's not the same rush. I mean, Tell and the boys at the Greenery and Bylands and Naps and all these people, they're getting all set up and getting ready,
getting excited
to go, and they're
2 months to go.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And then once we're into March, anything could happen.
And then in the old days when we talked to Bev Hadley from Greenleaf, and he'd give us these talks, and he said, 90 days, folks. You got 90 days to do it. 3 months. The next 90 days, that's what you got to do. And you pretty well have to do it in 90 days in this industry. Anyway, on that note, we're going to say, do our tips and plants of the week, and then we're going to say goodbye. My tip of the week is to be careful. There's some cooler weather coming, and you want to be a little bit careful. If you got any favorite hybrid tea roses or things like that, I've got a beautiful plant that's blooming in the garden right now, and I've got to cover it. I'll talk about it after. My plant of the week is a camellia, and this camellia, it's Catherine Combe sent me pictures of her camellia that she bought a couple of years ago, and she keeps it in the basement in the winter.
Yeah, sounds great. I also have a tip on a plant. My tip of the week is that the magnolias have this fabulous way of covering their buds with these lovely little fur coats, keeps them warm in the wintertime, and that's one of the strategies that plants use getting through these colder times, keeps them from desiccating, drying out, and surviving these cold temperatures from the winter, and so it's looking good so far this year. And my plant of the week is the oak tree family, and oaks are divided into two groups, and it's very important. They both have different growing conditions, but the red oaks are the ones that have points on the tips of their edges of their leaves, and the white oaks are the ones that have rounded lobes. And the white oaks and red oaks, that makes up the majority of all oak trees, and there's a couple other anomalies out there that don't have either of those. But anyway, that's just my tips and plans for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com, Grower Coach on YouTube, and remember to buy local.
And Ken, I just forgot that those amaryllis that have the plastic, or the wax coating, take that wax coating off when it's finished, plant it like you normally would, and you'll have a bulb for future. If you don't take that off, it's just going to wither and die. So if you want to get a second, third, fourth year out of it, take that off and plant it in plat. My Shigo quote of the week is, people who have all the answers don't take questions.
There you go.
There you go. We'll see you next week with more of The Garden Show.